I kind of want to address the elephant in the room, or one of the many elephants, I would say. Whenever I posted the flyer to the Facebook page, I mean to our Instagram page, and whenever we bring up Minister Farrakhan, I feel like our people, they either love the minister or they hate the minister. That's just my opinion. They're just on either one side or the other. Most people who hate the minister will say, I cannot rock with him because Minister Farrakhan, he admitted to killing Malcolm X. When you hear that type of claim, how do you respond to it, and how much truth does that claim hold?
That claim holds no truth at all. You know, as a point of fact, Minister Farrakhan never has admitted to being a part of the assassination of Malcolm X. What Minister Farrakhan said that oftentimes gets twisted, and this came about during an interview with Mike Wallace and Malcolm's eldest daughter, Atala Shabazz, whom the minister knew as a baby, you know, growing up. He said that he apologized that his words could be used to create an atmosphere of hatred toward Malcolm, that ultimately Malcolm was assassinated, and his words, along with the words of others, was a part of the climate and the atmosphere at that time, where members of the Nation of Islam reacted as Malcolm had always reacted. So you have to understand, before Malcolm left the Nation of Islam, there was no greater defender, no more stronger defender, no more ardent defender of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad than was Malcolm X. In fact, he trained the Nation of Islam how to defend the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's important because it was not out of jealousy or envy or hatred of Brother Malcolm that Minister Farrakhan wrote harsh words of condemnation of him, or Malcolm's own blood brother Filbert, or other ministers that wrote words condemning Malcolm's words against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They were not the aggressors, but they reacted when Malcolm began to slander and scandalize the name of his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, before the predominant white media. And so something that, again, mind you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad never did of Brother Malcolm. We should remember, as a point of fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave Malcolm X an opportunity to be a leader in the Nation of Islam coming out of prison. A man who didn't have a high school diploma, had no college education, who came right out of prison, and almost immediately the Honorable Elijah Muhammad allowed him to train to become a minister. And even despite the war of words that ensued as a result of the instigation of the FBI, you never heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say publicly anything about where he brought Brother Malcolm from. And so Malcolm began to do to his teacher what his teacher did not deserve and had not earned from Brother Malcolm. Others who loved his teacher began to defend the teacher, again, like Malcolm had once been the best example of. And so what the minister has said is that he wrote 4 articles condemning Malcolm's scandalizing of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But here's something very intriguing, Brother Jay. Now, you will hear people say that Minister Farrakhan wrote these words and Malcolm was worthy of death, et cetera, et cetera. But now, during this same time period, when Minister Farrakhan and other members of the nation were chastising Brother Malcolm for his scandalizing of his teacher's good name, you also had the Muhammad Ali, who became the heavyweight champion of the world, saying that Malcolm and anyone else who opposes the messenger of Allah will die. Now, by comparison to what the minister said, what the champ said is much more ominous and foreboding. Minister Farrakhan said he's worthy of death, but he won't because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has faith in Allah for victory over his enemies. Yet we've never heard that Muhammad Ali was a part of those who were helped to assassinate Malcolm X. You know why? Because for the sports industry, Muhammad Ali became a cash cow. Just a few years prior to his death, he sold the naming rights. He sold, I believe, an 80% share in his naming rights for $50 million to the name Muhammad Ali that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave to him. He was Cassius Clay, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave him the name Muhammad Ali, and he sold the rights, the commercial rights to that for $50 million. And yet we never hear his name even brought up. There was a Middle Eastern Muslim named Abdul Basit Naim, who used to write in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. He wrote 6 articles condemning Malcolm. You've never heard his name brought up. The fact about it is, Brother Jay, and for 30 years, you never heard anything about Minister Farrakhan being a part of Malcolm's assassination until Minister Farrakhan began to gain momentum in the 80s and 90s, rebuilding the Nation of Islam. And it was in 1994 when the New York Post, Jack Neufeld, and Gabe Pressman, they created the propaganda campaign that Farrakhan killed Malcolm. And for the record, the Nation of Islam sued the New York Post, and the net effect was the New York Post won a summary judgment, but it caused the New York Post to abandon its plan to run a 16-part series blaming Minister Farrakhan for Malcolm's assassination. So again, this is mythology. This is propaganda that unfortunately many of our brothers and sisters who won't open a book, they falsely believe they can learn everything from YouTube clips. They know about important subjects. But I'm here to tell you that the internet is wonderful. It's a great tool. But even in the year 2020, it just does not substitute cracking books and opening books. And so, Brother Jay, that old trite saying rings true once again. If you want to hide something from a black man or a black woman, just put it in a book. And we've got to break that cycle and begin to read and study, because the minister is not a man that is filled with hate. The minister is a man that loved Brother Malcolm. And I just want to say something on that note. You know, people have to understand that the nation, especially at that time, was like a family unit, you know? And, you know, sometimes, Brother Jay, in families, there can be anger, there can be resentment, and sometimes family members can fall out of love with each other. But if there is no interference, if there is no instigators, two people, two members of a family who once loved each other, many times time and space produces a reconciliation. What we have learned through the Freedom of Information Act and the subsequent releasing of the COINTELPRO papers as a result of the church committee hearings in the early 70s. Nobody knew nothing about COINTELPRO in the 60s, in the 50s. It was only made known to the general public in the early 70s. Senator Frank Church in the church committee exposed what J. Edgar Hoover and the CIA was doing in the name of the American people. But they have admitted that they worked to separate Brother Malcolm from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They have admitted to infiltrating the nation. They have admitted to spying on the nation. They have admitted to working to destroy the nation. And they considered one of the most successful counterintelligence programs was the assassination of Malcolm X. So they have taken credit for it. Now, go back to, just for comparison's sake, when we had 9/11, what were we told? We were told that Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda had taken credit for blowing up the Twin Towers. Nobody even asked. They said, well, y'all took credit for it, we're coming to get you. See? Well, here is our own FBI saying that we take credit for the assassination of Malcolm X. And a proof of that is that the tactics and what they learned through the infiltration of the nation, they went and also used those same tricks to help to destroy Malcolm's ideological children, which were the Black Panther Party. And so they killed the father, they killed the children. They went and they killed Fred Hampton, and I believe Brother Mark Clark, and they worked to destroy the Panthers. J. Edgar Hoover said that the Black Panther Party's free breakfast for children program, the Black Panthers, they loved their people. They loved the community. They saw the little children going to school and falling asleep because their parents didn't have food to give them a hot, nutritious breakfast in the morning. So they established their program, of which J. Edgar Hoover feared it so much. He said it was one of the greatest threats in all of America. And so what you find that they did, not only did they destroy the Black Panthers, but they took the Black Panthers free breakfast program, and then they morphed it and created what became known as Head Start. You might be a little too young, Brother Jay, to remember Head Start. I was a child, they had Head Start, and you could go there and get the hot breakfast on the way to school, etc. So, you know, for those who want to put the blame on the nation, you know, I ask you, what Black group has been strong? What Black group has cared for their people, that did not become the victim of our government, did not become the subject of propaganda and the campaign to discredit its leaders? And that's all that it is now, Brother Jay. Minister Farrakhan, when you have a Black man speaking strong like him, filling up stadiums, Brother Jay, I believe it was in 1992, Minister Farrakhan outdrew the World Series in Atlanta, Georgia. He was speaking in the Georgia Dome. The World Series game was being simultaneously played at another arena across town in Atlanta. And he had more people come out to hear him than went to see the World Series. So you think they're going to allow that man to continue to preach unhindered what he's preaching to Black people? So it was during this period of time, the early 90s, that they created this specific propaganda campaign, Farrakhan killed Malcolm X.
Powerful.